And now we'll hear from our second keynote speaker, Kyle Gomboy, our G2 Proto in Second Life. He'll be speaking about digital storytelling using mixed reality holograms.
Okay, so my presentation is not going to have so much historical data. It's about a device called HoloLens from Microsoft. This is a head-mounted display. Let me just click the right slide here, 1 second. Okay, so so this slide shows HoloLens, a mixed reality display, and as Dr. DeLeon said, the difference between virtual reality, where you're taken to another place entirely, and augmented reality, where there's a overlay of digital content on the real world. Microsoft's HoloLens is a mixed reality device, which means it's similar to augmented reality. It places data in the world, but it mixes with the real world. And so an example of that is if I'm standing in my living room and a hologram appears, the hologram can be occluded by the real world. In other words, a character that walks behind a wall disappears from my view because HoloLens has mapped out my environment with what's basically a Kinect camera, which is a depth sensing camera that is strapped to your head. So let's say in the context, as I look around my living room, the HoloLens is building a 3D mesh of the room. And so now when digital content is created, HoloLens knows what a wall is. It knows what the floor is. It knows what a chair is. And if we're talking about avatars, 3D characters, those characters can use the environment. They can sit on a chair. They can place something under a table to where you have to get up and move so that you can see what's under the table, just like a physical object would be under the table. And so that's how Microsoft has kind of termed mixed reality. It's interacting and understanding the environment that you're in. And so I'm probably doing something wrong with the slides because they seem to be moving around. But let me just get to the right slide here. If we could just hold off on moving them for just a second, I want to just illustrate a couple of points with the slides. Okay, so just to go over how the All right. Hold on a second. All right. So there's the HoloLens. There's the HoloLens device. It's got a couple of. Okay, somebody's playing tricks on me now. One second. Let me switch that back. Oh, so I don't think I was pressing the key. So you can place holograms in your environment. A uh, game or application or experience can load up on HoloLens, and it will start interacting with your environment. So let me switch to another slide here. Okay, so this is a game that comes with HoloLens. It's called Fragments. And so I'm going to put a link into chat at the end of my talk here where you can see a video on this. But in terms of immersive storytelling, this is a great one. It's a mystery that you fire it up and you scan your room and a bunch of clues come in. And the clues, one of them, for example, is a power box that's mounted on your wall. And you go over to it in your room, in your office, in your living room, wherever. And you open up the power box by, you do a gesture or there's a clicker that you hold in your hand. And there's clues in there. So it's a 3D hologram on your wall in your living room, let's say. And then you keep going with the story. It's a story of a kidnapped child, and you are presented with a number of clues and memories from the child, and you have to figure out where that child is in a city. And so the characters that you see on the slide here are detectives and a guide. The guy on the left there is a guide kind of telling you where to look for the next clue. You might walk from your living room into the kitchen to find the next clue. You might have to look under a table. You will interact with the characters by talking to them as if a person was standing in your living room with you. You can walk around them. They will follow you. And all of a sudden, this dream that I had ever since I was a kid of being within a game or an interactive experience, standing within it, and not just sitting at a screen, but being a part of it, as if real actors were in your home all of a sudden. That's what HoloLens affords us in terms of digital storytelling. So dark, yes. So the bigger the house, the more places you have to search. Perhaps not the longer the story, but the more places that HoloLens has a choice of placing items. At one point during the Fragments game, you look up and your ceiling, it looks like your ceiling in your living room is breaking apart, and there's a hole, and you can see through the plaster to the framework, and then a more of a hole opens and rainwater starts to come in, and you're standing in this. And I remember at one point you look down at your floor and HoloLens will paint over your real floor, and it'll put in a wood floor or concrete, whatever it needs for that aspect of the story. And I remember, and all the while you're not occluded in your view like you are with a Vive or an Oculus. You're still seeing the real world perfectly. It's just a blend of virtual elements with the real world. And so I remember at a certain point, a couple of rats came running at me, and you jump just like when you're in virtual reality and you're at the edge of a building. You kind of freak out. At least I do. Now all of a sudden, these rats are running at me on my floor in the living room, and I jumped. And so you really get caught up in the experience. So let me just go to another slide here. One moment. Okay, so here's Marty McFly and the dock there, and one of our early conceptions about a head-mounted display that can show holograms and things like that. So I wanted to show you that, and now I want to flip to the prototype photo of a HoloLens, so you can kind of see some similarities. Hold on. Okay. So yeah, so you kind of see that this HoloLens has been available. It's not a consumer product right now. It's a developer kit, which means Microsoft is not saying everybody should go out and buy one yet. It's been put in the hands of developers like myself to create content for. Because as we all know, if you launch a product with no content, chances are it's not going to be adopted. Why would anybody buy it if there's no content? It's currently in a developer kit phase. So you can kind of see where it's been out for a year now. You can kind of see about 2 years before that, the guy on the left is wearing the prototype. So it's come a long ways from the prototype. It's a little bulky, and it's an imperfect device right now. But when you put it on your head, it's pure magic. It is holograms that move nicely, look good, and it's really a glimpse of the future. And there's several companies working on similar mixed reality displays. There's a company called Magic Leap. That's a little late in getting theirs out, but Apple's also working on one. And so in the next couple of years, we're going to see these items come down in price and become a lot more affordable. And somewhere around the 5-year range, we're hoping that this becomes a bulky pair of sunglasses, not a big bulky device like it is now, but something that you might not mind wearing around. I certainly don't go out in public with mine because I do get crazy, crazy looks from people. So, but uh, it's amazing, and you create for it using Unity 3D. So, if you're familiar with that engine, um, there's actually an emulator for HoloLens. Oops, sorry. Anybody interested? Yeah, it's definitely got a Daft Punk vibe. So even if you don't buy a device, if you're interested in creating content for it, there's an emulator, and you can get started playing around with it at any point for free. Um, One of our projects, I'm located just a little north of Orlando, so we've got Disney and Universal Studios nearby. And one venue is a laser tag venue where you shoot live actors who are playing zombies and are chasing you through this abandoned military medical lab. And so we're starting a project where you wear HoloLens during it, and you get backstory on why the medical lab, why things went badly at this medical lab, and why the zombies have appeared, and why are they chasing you. And so the owners of the venue wanted a reason for people who go through the experience to come back again. Once you've shot at the zombies, okay, maybe you do it again, but certainly there's no, you've seen it, you've done it. But if each month the story progresses and the narrative changes and you learn a little bit more each month when you go back to this venue, now they're getting repeat customers. The mystery evolves, exactly, Brent. And we've been doing work with virtual worlds and education for quite a while, and we would like to create storytelling for historical narratives using HoloLens, where the students are standing perhaps on the Mayflower, and they clear out the gym at the school for a day. They put these on the students, and all of a sudden, they feel like they're standing on the Mayflower. They have characters around them that are interacting with them, that know where they're standing, and it feels like an experience that you're a, instead of all right, let me just do one or two more slides, and then we'll do some questions on this. Well, this is more of a VR experience that was thought of in the 1930s, actually. The isolator over there. I use this to kind of illustrate the difference between virtual reality and mixed reality, where and both have their pluses and minuses, but you're much more isolated with virtual reality. So having a shared experience is a little trickier. It can be done with virtual reality as well. But with mixed reality, with being able to see each other and both see the same holograms and interacting with it together, it's a much more social experience out of the box. And I see a time when the HoloLens comes down in price and gets a little bit more refined. where movies could be retrofitted. And so while you're watching a movie, a certain scene comes up on the screen. HoloLens can do image recognition, so it can notice that you're at a certain point in, let's say, a Finding Dora movie, and an underwater scene, let's say. And so you're watching a DVD, regular DVD, 2D movie on a flat screen, but HoloLens can be triggered at various points to all of a sudden add fish all around you in your living room. So we can enhance movies with holograms. If it's a scene where it's raining, HoloLens can pick up through audio or just a frame of the movie that you're at the scene where it's raining, and now all around you in your living room, rain is coming down, pooling up on the floor. And so I expect that in the next couple of years, we'll all be buying new copies of our DVDs that have been enhanced with mixed reality features. So that's pretty much it. My goal tonight was just to kind of, if you haven't heard of HoloLens, introduce it, and if you have, kind of explain how it works a little bit more, and just get people thinking now about what kind of experiences can be created when the real world and the virtual world kind of intersect here. Yes, I have a website. Let me first, more importantly, I'm going to put a link to a YouTube video on HoloLens. Let me grab that real quick, and then I'll answer some questions.